Commander, sir. I'm here, sir. What's your position? What? You've been captured. Commander! Oh no, they've got him surrounded. Hold on, Commander. Where did I put that blaster? Oh man, oh no. I can't fight without my blaster. I guess I'll have to make a new one. Ho ho, now we're talking. This will work just fine. The legendary DC-15A Clone Trooper Rifle, developed by Blastech Industries. Psst, 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 psst. All clear, Commander. Yes, sir. Glad to help. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to another tutorial series where I'm going over the templates that I made available for free in the description. Although I shouldn't say series because it's only going to be one video, but I will warn you beforehand that this is a much more complicated build than the Clone Trooper costume that I made a while ago. Because there's so many different 3D parts, like raised levels and lowered sections and rounded parts, it's really hard to translate all of that onto a 2D sheet of paper, so be sure to pay attention to the one that I've already made if you plan to build this yourself. So the first thing that you're going to need is a PVC pipe. This is going to be the base of the whole blaster, and it'll run through the entire gun. You can use something other than a PVC pipe. I just used it because it's solid and it's very cheap. You could probably use a wooden dowel if you found one, but the point is that it has to be a long, sturdy object that can support the entire weight of all that foam on top of it. Just as I wrote in the notes section, you'll want to make it a little bit longer than 34 inches or 84 centimeters. That's what I recommend because I found the one that I used was a little too short. But anyway, let's take a look at page number 1. This is the front part of the gun. So you have the main thick barrel on the front and then the little column on top of it. Just as with all of my templates, all you have to do is cut out the pieces and match up the number edges. Those little vent sections in the top of the column are made by cutting the holes into some 2mm foam and then putting that foam with the holes in it on top of another piece of foam, a bigger piece, to give it that indented look. And you can see the indented pieces better with the gray paint that I put over top of the black paint. I just didn't put any gray paint inside the little vent pieces so you could see them better. That overhanging piece on the tip of the gun, right above the barrel, I recommend putting that piece and just attaching it straight on to the other template, so that way you don't have to cut out two pieces and glue it together. You can just have one big piece. That way if you drop it, it won't break off. Those little pieces that you can see on the sides of the gun, those are just 2mm foam. I used a lot of different thicknesses in this build, so I recommend having some different sized foams, because having different options to choose from is always good when you're making a prop, because not everything is just made out of 2mm or 10mm foam. There's always a mix of different levels. These lines that you can see on the barrel of the gun are just incisions that I made in the foam, and then I used a heat gun to widen that gap. There are supposed to be 8 lines on the barrel in total, but one of them is kind of hidden by the column on the top of the gun. In order to get it wrapped around the PVC pipe, I just made a flat shape and then cut those incisions in first, and then wrapped it around the PVC pipe, and I glued it on with contact cement because I needed the strongest connection. Moving on to page 2, and we have the center section of the gun here. Once again, I would like to state that it's difficult to put a 3D object onto a 2D piece of paper. So the top part of the barrel section is supposed to be foam that's wrapped around the PVC pipe, but it's difficult to see that on a 2D piece of paper. Under that, there's like a little small gap, and that's supposed to be a rectangular piece of foam that acts as a spacer. And below that is the triangle kind of piece, which holds up the gas canister on the bottom of the gun. As I showed just now, I put little marks on the template to show you where other pieces are supposed to line up, like that triangle on the top of the gun, as well as the gas canister on the bottom. On the top section of the template, you can see where I marked PVC pipe, and I grayed that section out. That's just to let you know that that will be an exposed part of the PVC pipe along with the barrel, so you don't need to make a foam piece for that if you use the same 1/2 inch PVC pipe that I used. The part that we're looking at now, the sort of triangle piece at the bottom, that's a bit tricky to do considering it's at a V shape. I recommend cutting out the two foam pieces as those V shapes and then gluing only the bottom tips of the V piece together and then filling that sort of inside with hot glue or something just to give it a filler, and then you can glue that up to the top section of the barrel. But that's a minor detail. You can probably just make it a flat piece and glue it up to the barrel and nobody will really notice. That upside down triangle that we're looking at now, that's basically the same technique that I used on the front of the gun with that 2mm foam over top of the thicker foam. So that's what I recommend you do here. As we saw earlier, this piece on the tip of the gun, that little overhanging piece, I recommend that you tape the two templates together at that number 3 mark and just cut that piece of foam out all together as one piece instead of two separate pieces, because it will hold much stronger if it's one piece, and if the gun drops on the barrel, this piece won't break off if it's one solid piece. Now for the gas canister on the bottom of the gun. This was probably the most difficult piece, I would say, just because it's a circular shape and that's not very easy to get onto foam unless the foam piece is already circular. What I did was stack a bunch of pieces of foam on top of each other, and then I used a Dremel tool to sand them down into the shape of a circle, and that's also how I got that slope on the back piece. And in the center, I just connected the two circles together with some popsicle sticks. Moving on to page 3, and we have the handle of the gun as well as some other pieces. So this cone piece that I'm showing now, this is one of the more tricky pieces that you'll have to work with, but the video gives a pretty good description of what it's going to look like. Basically, you're going to cut out that C shape and then wrap it around in a circle, and it'll give you that cone shape that you can see on the blaster. I just wanted to point out that the other piece beside the C-shaped piece is the same piece, it's just in 2D form. It's not really necessary to use this piece at all, it's just for demonstration purposes to show what you will get. But that circle piece that you can see is the inside of the cone piece, and that will just fill in the gaps. You don't need to use that either if you're going to use like putty or something. This piece here is where the clip will go, but you only need to make that hole on the right side of the gun where the clip will be. There is no clip on the left side, obviously. And you can choose to make the clip removable or not, but this is where you would put the other magnet. The other one would be in the clip, of course. But if you wanted to do that, this is where you would put it. Now we can look at the handle and the trigger part of the gun. Since this is the piece that's going to be supporting a lot of the weight of the gun, I recommend you putting some sort of support material on the inside before you glue it shut, not just have two pieces of foam put together, because the foam probably won't be able to hold it up on its own. Moving on to page 4, and this is the last page, and it is the stock section of the gun. This first piece that we look at is just sort of a long connector piece to the stock. I highly recommend putting something inside of it to support the material. I don't know if you could fit a PVC pipe in there, but maybe some wood or popsicle sticks or something like that, just to make it stronger. I forgot to do this, so I had to put popsicle sticks on the outside of the gun, as you can see, and it doesn't look as good. For the stock piece of the blaster, you can tell that connection point number 14 is just where the two pieces connect, and at that connection point there's a beveled edges on both sides, as you can see on the blaster that I made, and I just used a Dremel tool to make those slanted edges. For the clip section of the gun, this is just a little rectangle. It's two pieces of foam put together, and I obviously put the magnet on one side in order to attach it into the gun. Those little stripes across the top are just 2mm foam that I glued on top, and they are on the top and bottom of the clip, so the top and bottom are exactly the same. So that's all I wanted to share with you guys for now. If you have questions, leave them below and I'll try to get back to you. But if you do get stuck, I recommend watching this video again and just pausing it at certain times when I show a certain angle of the gun. Maybe that will help you figure out how it's supposed to go. But anyway, a big thanks to my Patreons for supporting me. I am trying to upload some exclusive content up there. If you guys are interested, go ahead and check that out. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.